Before you swing the first hammer or you pour that first slab, you better know this number. It's it's your weekly project cash flow because most contractors they focus on the total contract, the total, but that's like celebrating a marathon at mile one. Here's the real challenge managing the weekly ins and outs of where you're spending versus what you're receiving. Now, in this guide, I'm going to show you how to use the project cash flow projection template. Basically, it's just a simple tool that gives you the roadmap of your cash flow journey from week one to completion. So think of it as like a GPS for your finances so you don't get lost, go broke, or just miss payroll in just mid-project. Now, this is a great tool also if you want to qualify for funding or maybe just line up your expenses and finish that job strong. So definitely let's dig in exactly to here's this document we use if clients are looking for, let's say, mobilization for a particular project or contract. And one thing you notice here, here's the date based on this is the first date that you do the contract is where you can change it. And what that'll do is it'll also change the other dates. So, like if you say this May 1st, then you see right here it goes each 7 days from that date. And so obviously you want to start from that contract and then or better yet, the date, the week of the submitted pay app. So maybe that first week, so maybe that Sunday or that Monday would is what I would I would suggest that you put that in there. And the pay that so that week, so start on that Sunday, and then that pay application to be submitted. So what is that amount that on that total contract to submit it? And then it's of course the retainage percentage. So for those in the contract space, typically usually if as a GC, the owner is going to request a 10% retainage before they for their pay. Um, we on the real estate side will do a ARV funding situation, and you can utilize this to figure out, uh, exactly how much will be held back in the deal, and then whatever is left over will be the less retainage, and then the projected pay app to be submitted. So that total amount that would be submitted there. Now, in order to do this, one of the things that you're going to need to know is what the total contract amount is going to be. So, so what is the gross revenue of that contract? What are all the costs associated with that job or project? And then, of course, we're all in business to make profits, right? What is the net income of that job? When you're going to start it, when are you going to start it, when you're going to complete it, and then of course that monthly payment schedule that you're gonna have. But so you want to have that, and then payment terms. What are those payment terms? So is it a monthly basis, a weekly basis, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days? I've seen it as far as high as 90 days. What are all the expenses associated with on that pay app, right? So like this is the total gross, right, associated with that job. And then right here is on a weekly basis the expenses against that job. What if what if it's not on a weekly basis? Well, you want to calculate what your expenses would be on that weekly basis just to make sure that you are keeping track so that you won't get, you want to bankrupt yourself, right? Right here, it said, please enter the number of days it takes to receive the payment from the time that you submit your pay app, right? Because that's a game changer, right? So I went ahead and started putting some numbers in, but so some of the key things here you want to have is you right here on the green. It's the enter the values in green highlighted cells. All cell entries should be dollar values. So you want to break it down the total project, right? And so if you notice here, this this goes out a while, right? Depending on how long your contract is. The white cells are formula driven and do not require any inputs that can't be modified, right? The it's best to complete the spreadsheet working each section from top to bottom and enter retainage as whole numbers, right? So I just did right here, I just did percentage. And then for expense line, entered your payment terms for that expense. So you see right here, what is the payment terms of when you have to pay out those project costs? So sometimes a lot of times sometimes with the materials, some sometimes you're on COD, right? Where you have to pay some 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 they give you terms. But this is how you manage your cash flow for when you pay and when you have to pay out, so you know exactly what's going on that particular contract to manage your cash flow. Because a lot of times I've seen what'll happen is sometimes people will dial in so well on this and they're like, oh, I can just work it out. And they don't even need funding. They don't even need any mobilization funds because they worked out the cash flow to really help them to dial in this. So definitely take a whirlwind on this, break it, do your best on here on that. How you're able to convey the cash flow is a determination on the likelihood of someone funding you or a likelihood that you'll have the cash flow to fund yourself.